Good evening and welcome to Digital Combat Simulators A-10C, the Air Force's infamous Warthog, also known as the Flying Tank. This thing is actually built around this big giant machine gun sticking out of his nose here. Very, very, very highly detailed game. Well, simulator. I guess there's people out there that'll actually really get mad at you if you call it a game. I don't know why. It's a freaking game. I'm here to have fun. But anyway, that being said, you are not going to just come in and pick this up and be pro at it, which is nice because unlike a lot of these kid style games, you go online and people are actually interested in helping you out. It has a very, very robust online community. It's got some servers that are always open and available to the public. Sometimes I've got my own going and I never password protect it. And people just get on there and just shoot each other down or just fly around and hang out. Lots and lots and lots of space to fly in. You are only looking at a very small chunk of what you got here. What they've modeled is a hefty piece of Georgia and a little chunk of Russia, and it's all there. Yeah. So getting into it. So I'm gonna go over right now just kind of how to start this thing up. There's a phrase. There's the right way, the wrong way, and the Army way. I'm going to be doing this the DOC way, which is, if you are a real Air Force A-10 pilot, I apologize for the atrocity that you're about to see, but if you want to do this by the book, it's like a 29-page checklist. And yes, I can find all the switches. I know where they all are. Unfortunately, just a lot of them just aren't really necessary. Alright, so the very first thing you want to do is you're going to turn on the battery. Get some power going up in here. After that, you have the inverter switch. You're going to set to standby. And then you're going to come over to the throttle. So you're going to turn on the APU. So right now we're running off of battery power. Once this APU gets started up, we'll be running off of that little generator. It sounds like engines are being turned on, but as you can see, engines are perfectly still. It is just the APU. And it is generating its own heat. Just wait for this thing to get to 100%. There we go. Now I can turn on the APU generator power switch. Bam! Alright, now is where things start to get kind of clicky. Alright, so I just turned on the AC generator power. Come over here, I'm going to turn on these boost pumps. Whenever I go to start the engine, I'm going to need these on. Go ahead and turn on my CDU and my EGI. This thing takes forever to go through its own little bit and get aligned, so I like to do that while the engine's just spooling up. O2, we never want to forget that, pitot heat. A lot of people ask what a pitot is. You see this little rod sticking out here? Basically, a lot of these instruments, they get their information from atmospheric conditions. But whenever you get up higher, the outside air temperature drops. So if it gets too low, it'll freeze and your instruments will be off. So I always want to make sure you have this thing turned on because they do model that sort of phenomena here. We're going to turn our test engine. Right, all you have to do is just bump it forward just a little bit, and you absolutely must start your left engine first. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, start your right engine for your left engine. And while that's pulling up, we're going to go ahead and throw a couple more switches. Let's have our KQ or JTARs and our ISTI. Alright, this is basically going to feed data to the MFCDs here. JTARs is what's going to make us visible on friendly computers. As that thing starts, that means I can turn this APU master switch off, or the APU generator power rather. So right now that left engine is generating electrical power. Got our right engine. I just like to get this thing set. And turn our radio. Now technically you are supposed to turn your radios like one of the first things you do, because you call ATC, you ask them for permission. I'm not that picky about it. So, alright, next up. Start getting some of our non-essential systems set up. So basically I just click this load all button here. That's what's going to give us like our maps and something like that. Yes, we do want to run our bit test. On the pitch and yaw channels here. Takeoff trim. Switch this arm. This one right here. Our radar altimeter up. The radar altimeter is basically gonna
pull up.
The altitude that you see here is a barometric altitude. This is based off the air pressure. So the switch that I flip back here will feed a radar altitude to the aircraft, which will tell me how far I'm actually am from the ground versus how far I am up from sea level, which is what this altitude will be. Now, once you're done with that, you can make a few changes here. You don't really have to. You probably don't need to worry about it too much until you start getting a little bit more in depth into the game. Now we'll take our SC switch here, so that's on. And now you have your classic video game style effect. This could also be a good idea to go ahead and get weapons loaded if you don't already have any dictated by the scenario.
Request refueling. Request rearming. Copy.
Now I can turn off my APU.
Refueling complete.
A little bit more quiet here. Turn on my countermeasures. Anti-skid. Headlights going on. Just got a little message. Who's on the DCS saying, hey, our inventory's got to change. Oops, yeah, gotcha. Maverick missiles.
Rearming complete.
Alright, we can hit load all again. You can load it individually by system, but it's not all that critical. We're looking here on our alignment. Alright. INS navigation is ready. Alright, careful. I always like to turn this thing on as a repeater. It makes it easier to work with instead of having to come down here and try to catch all these tiny little buttons. Okay, with that, we'll come down here. So we got Iggy, ILS, and TACAN. We can check on what kind of weapon stores we got going on. So we got a couple CBUs, Agent 65. Alright, good to go. Now I'm not going to get too much into setting these up, but each one of these does have its own little profile and different little parameters that you can adjust to help you hit what you're trying to and how you want to hit it. now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on the missiles. Because it takes, this thing has to get to 3 minutes before those things will fire. Make sure our TGP's on. TGP on the other one. So that's going to be busy aligning. Alright, from here, turn on my nose wheel steering. And that's pretty much it. We're ready to roll out. So we're going to go ahead and head on down to the runway. So we're going to get a taxi clearance from ATC.
Cabo Eddie, Pontiac 1-1. Request taxi to runway.
You know, you have to forgive like the sudden movements of my visual field here. I'm drinking a beer while I play this game, so every now and again I tilt my head back. Alright, so we got clearance to runway 7. Now the thing about runways, if you ever need to figure out which way you need to be facing, the runways are numbered. If you multiply them by 10, that'll be the number of degrees that it faces. So we're looking for one that goes to the 70 degrees, or about this way. Alright, so it's going to be running from this way to this way. In other words, we need to go down to this end. So to show you, alright, this is the end we're going to go down. We can kind of zoom out here to the end of this runway. 07. Alright, so the other one, the opposite end of the runway, which will be offset by 180 degrees for 250. So we only need a taxi at about 15 to 25 kilometers an hour. Turn on some lights here so my wingman can see me going by. Go ahead and turn on some of these. So we got our gun will be armed. Lasers are armed. So if you're looking here at this camera on the left side, that's actually one from the Maverick missile. And here's our TGP, target gunnery pod. There's this little camera looking deal you see over here on this right wing. You get a lot more visibility using the camera off of the target gunnery pod than you do off of the Maverick missiles themselves. Tire screech, I was speeding. My bad. Now we close the canopy. Alright, we get takeoff clearance from A-10C.
1-1, request takeoff.
We're going to give about half of our flaps, about 20 degrees.
1-1, unable to clear for takeoff. Pontiac 1-1, code ready? You are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb
Yeah, I think he knew I was just going to take off anyway.
29.53.
Basically just tell me to climb to 3,000 and the atmospheric pressure is 29.53 inches of mercury. Alright, which would help me to adjust my barometric altimeter. So take off, we're going to advance our throttle to about 90%, let go of the brakes. Once it gets up over 70, we can turn off the nose wheel steering. The rotors will be sufficient. Alright, above 120 knots, we can rotate up. Alright, we have a positive rate of climb. We raise the landing gear, silence the gear horn. That's it, we are up in the air. Yeah, ordinarily that cone isn't behind the model. I think it just has something to do with this particular skin. Most of the skins in this game are all gray for whatever reason. And usually all it is a heat wave, that you'll see. I'll post about that on the forums tonight and see what the heck is going on. Alright, so that's it. So now you can start up and take off in the A-10 Warthog. And hopefully I'll see you guys online.